Hey, friend, come on in. Pull up a chair. Pour yourself something to drink, maybe a coffee or a tea or water, and just settle in with me for a little while. Because today, I want to have a real conversation. This is one I've been thinking about for a long time, turning it over and over in my head and wanting to get it just right. What we're talking about is GLP-1 medications today. Ozempic, Wegovy, Mounjaro, Zepbound, tirzepatide. You've heard the names. Maybe you've heard the debates, but here's what I really want us to dig into today. What comes after the decision? What it looks like to actually take care of yourself while you are on one of these medications or seriously considering it. I want to be real with you. About 12 years ago, I was not someone who thought about much of this. I was too busy running a business, keeping up with my community commitments, my friends, and honestly, just trying to get through each day without feeling completely depleted. My relationship with food was complicated, and the idea of sitting down to research my metabolic health felt like something other women did. Women with more time, more energy, more of something I did not have. But here I am, and I imagine you are here because you were asking the same kinds of questions. I started asking, so let's do this together. Today's episode is brought to you by Larson Botanicals. If your body has been running on empty, and honestly, whose hasn't, Larson Botanicals makes plant based wellness products designed to support you through every season of life. From, deep, deep conditioning creamers and serums and, um, scented candles that are with all organic essential oils, non toxic candles. Check out larsonbotanicals.com. So let me start with the science. I want you to understand this simply and not like a textbook. GLP stands for glucagon-like peptide 1. It's a hormone. And here's the part I think is so beautiful. Your body already makes it. Right now, your gut produces GLP-1 naturally every single time you eat something. It signals your pancreas to release insulin. It slows your liver down from producing excess sugar. And it sends a message to your brain that says, okay, we are satisfied. We've had enough. That signal, that gentle, clear, I'm full signal, is GLP-1 doing its job. But for a lot of us, that signal is quieter than it should be because we're eating highly processed foods. If you're eating protein, healthy fats like avocado and nuts and seeds and fatty fish like salmon or sardines, trust me, you are not going to be wanting more and more and more and more. It will fill you up. So for those of you where that GLP-1 is quieter or it fades faster, it's probably because you're eating something highly processed, something in a can, something out of a bag, something in a, that is highly processed. And I want to say something about that clearly because it matters deeply. This is not a character flaw. This is biology. GLP-1 receptor agonists medications work by mimicking that hormone your body already is trying to produce. They simply amplify the signal. They extend it. Think of it like turning up the volume on a radio station that has always been broadcasting. You just could not quite hear it before. For many people, the results are genuinely life-changing. That constant mental chatter about food, researchers have started calling it food noise. Well, that quiets down. I could tell you like 12, 13 years ago when I was, just in the house and I was eating all the time and I was eating, highly processed foods. I was eating pizza and cookies and all kinds of stuff, and I gained a lot of weight. And I a lot of diseases as well. So, it's amazing what's happening with, if when you're eating whole proteins and whole vegetables and how it quiets that noise. But for some people, they just can't do it, and they need a GLP-1. So, for some who spent years wrestling with that noise, the quiet can feel like a gift they never expected. And you want to honor that truly. But the weight loss piece, as remarkable as it is only the beginning of the story. So a few years ago, the big question was, does this work? Is it safe? That conversation has moved on. The answer for the right person with good medical support is yes, these medications work. The conversation happening now sounds more like this. Okay, I've lost the weight, but I feel weaker. My hair is thinning. My digestion is a mess. I feel like I'm shrinking in ways I did not expect. That is the conversation I want to sit in with you today because those feelings are valid and they are pointing to real addressable things happening inside your body. If I could put a bright light over any part of this episode, it would be when people lose weight, any kind of weight loss, not just from GLP-1 medications. They do not only lose fat, they lose muscle too. Somewhere between 25 and 40% of the weight loss during a significant calorie deficit can come from lean muscle mass, unless you're lifting heavy on a regular basis, 2 to 3 to 4 times a week. So let me repeat that. You lose up to 40% of your muscle mass. Now, think about somebody who is obese. They actually gain muscle from carrying all that fat. But then when they lose the fat, they lose all the muscle too, right? So, and it's really important that they lose the fat because it's causing all this disease and all the fat in their organs, right? It's really, really important. So the motivation to work out, sometimes it's just put your clothes, get them ready. Put the weights where they need to be, or get your workout video into your, on your TV or on your phone or whatever, and be ready in the morning and just do 5 minutes. Start somewhere. Then when you start feeling good because you're doing 5 minutes, do another 5 minutes the next day or the day after, and then do it again. And then start repeating that. And then start going to 10 minutes. This is not a small thing, right? Muscle is the tissue that keeps you strong, keeps your metabolism running. It protects your bones. It keeps you vital and functional as you age. Now, add in GLP-1 medications. These drugs are very effective at reducing appetite, which is the point. But reduced appetite almost always means reduced protein intake because most people don't focus on protein. They focus on highly processed foods. They don't walk the perimeter of the grocery store. And everybody's heard this before. You get your fruits, your vegetables, your proteins. The only thing I buy from the aisles is frozen organic vegetables because a lot of my fresh vegetables go to waste. I just I just don't eat them fast enough and I don't like to shop, so I don't shop enough to buy them every day. So it for me it's just better to get the organic vegetables and frozen organic vegetables. So how many of you are getting the protein intake you need? If you missed my 5-day protein challenge, you would have learned a lot about how much protein you really need and why you need it for so many reasons. And when your body does not get enough protein, it pulls from what it already has. And what it has is muscle. For people, this is especially important. And here's why. We already lose muscle as we age. It is called sarcopenia. Men don't lose it as much as women. And it begins quietly in our 30s, about 3 to 5% per decade. By perimenopause, we are managing on two fronts: natural age related loss and the hormonal shift as estrogen begins to decline. Estrogen is actually protective of muscle tissue. It plays a role in muscle protein synthesis and muscle recovery. As it fluctuates and falls in perimenopause, we lose some of that protection. Our muscles become harder to maintain and harder to build. Add a medication that significantly suppresses appetite, drops protein intake, and sometimes reduces the motivation to exercise. Because when you're nauseated or exhausted from side effects, the last place you want to be is the gym. And the picture starts to look concerning. This is not a reason to avoid GLP-1s if they are right for you. I want to be so clear about that. But it is a compelling reason to be intentional and informed. So what do you actually do? You make protein a non-negotiable. You start with protein. So if you have a plate and you have some protein and you have some vegetables and maybe you have some wild rice, start with the protein. Eat the protein first. If you still are hungry, eat the vegetables next. If you're still hungry, then you have the wild rice or the beans. Every single day, you need to eat like this. Even when your appetite is low, eat the protein first. Even when food feels unappealing, you find ways to get it in because your muscle and your metabolism and your strength, your longevity, it depends on it. You know, people we see our parents, right? And they die a long, slow death. They get diabetes, they get high blood pressure, they get high triglycerides, they get arthritis, they get all kinds of things, and they die a long, slow death. Most research suggests that, people on GLP-1 medication should aim for somewhere between 1.2 to 1.6 grams or zero point 0.7 to zero point 0.9 ounces of protein per kilogram or per pound of weight, respectively. And that's per day. This is higher than general recommendations because the circumstances call for more. And resistance training. I know everyone says this, but I am saying it again because it is the most powerful tool we have for preserving muscle. Lifting weight sends a signal to your body we need this tissue. Even 2 to 3 sessions per week can make a meaningful difference. Weights, bands, your body weight, whatever works for your life. The consistency matters more than the intensity. So here's something I hear all the time. I know I need more protein, but I can't stomach a big meal. If that sounds familiar, I want you to know about Larson Nutrition. The clean, whole food based protein meals were literally formulated with weight loss and longevity in mind. Whether you're on a GLP-1 and struggling to hit your protein goals or just trying to feel your body better, visit Larson Nutrition. It has everything you need to be covered. larsonnutrition.com. So here is the part of the GLP-1 story that does not get nearly enough airtime, and it genuinely excites me. GLP-1 receptors are not just your gut. Researchers are finding them throughout the body, in your heart, in your kidneys, in your blood vessels, your immune cells, and in the brain in ways science is still mapping. What this means is that GLP-1 medications may be doing far more than managing blood sugar and appetite. They may be addressing inflammation at a deep systemic level. Chronic low grade inflammation, the kind that simmers for years without obvious symptoms, is now understood to be at the root of most major diseases of aging. Heart disease, type 2 diabetes, certain cancers, Alzheimer's disease, metabolic syndrome. GLP-1 medications appear to have anti-inflammatory properties that go beyond what weight loss alone would explain. The drug itself seems to be doing something to dampen inflammatory pathways independently of the pounds lost. There was a landmark cardiovascular study that found GLP-1 receptor and agonists significantly reduce the risk of major cardiovascular events, heart attacks, strokes, even before significant weight loss had occurred. That tells us something important. Something is happening at the cellular level that goes beyond the scale. And I want to be honest that this research is still developing. We do not have decades of data yet, but the picture is fascinating and the potential connections to brain health and dementia prevention are being actively investigated. For women already thinking about protecting their hearts and their minds into their 70s and 80s, this is absolutely a thread worth following. I want to take a moment to talk about food noise because when people first started describing this publicly, something loosened in my chest. Food noise is the constant mental chatter about food, thinking about your next meal while you're still eating the current one, right? The pull toward the kitchen at 9 at night when your body is not actually hungry. That way, food occupies mental real estate that feels completely out of proportion to what is happening in your body. The negotiating, the bargaining, the guilt, the planning, the obsessing, the low hum of what will I eat? Should I have eaten that? What's off limits? What do I deserve? I lived with this for years without understanding that not everyone experiences food this way. I thought it was just me, my lack of willpower, my weakness. For many people, GLP-1 medications quiet that noise, sometimes dramatically. People describe being able to, walk past a bakery without being pulled in, stopping halfway through a meal and simply not wanting more. When they're on these medications, having mental space they have never experienced before, space to think about other things, space to just exist without the constant negotiation of food. They can be grief in the shift, or can be grief in the shift. Realizing how much of your mental and emotional energy has been consumed by your relationship with food, and then suddenly having that change can bring up things that surprise you. Some people feel relief, some feel lost, some feel both, and they do not know what to do with that. Because food is not just fuel. It is comfort and culture and memory and love and celebration. When the relationship with it changes, even in a way you wanted, it can surface feelings you were not expecting. You're not broken if that happens. It is entirely human response to a significant shift. Researchers are also looking at GLP-1 receptors and addictive behaviors more broadly. Sorry if you can hear the doggies barking. There must be a squirrel out there. Early studies suggest these medications may reduce cravings for alcohol and nicotine as well. The mechanism seems to involve the brain's reward pathways and how dopamine responses are modulated. The quieting of compulsive wanting. That is what we're really talking about. And for a lot of people, that touches something much deeper than appetite. Okay, so let's talk about the gut. This is I spilled coffee everywhere. So I had to drink a coffee. It's all over my shirt, all over my lap. Okay, let's talk about the gut. This is consistently one of the most under-discussed pieces when people start GLP-1 medications. And paying attention to it can make a huge difference in how you feel day to day. GLP-1 medication slows something called gastric emptying. Food moves through your digestive system more slowly than usual. This is part of how the medication works. Slower emptying means food sits in your stomach longer, so you feel full longer. Grab a tissue. If food sits in your stomach longer, so you feel full longer. But it also means your digestive system is operating in a completely different rhythm. Okay. The common side effects are nausea, constipation, bloating, acid reflux, that heavy, uncomfortable feeling after eating. You're largely explained by this slowing down. For many people, especially early on and when a dose increases, these symptoms can be genuinely disruptive. But here is what I want you to understand beyond comfort. Your gut microbiome is profoundly affected by what you eat, how you eat, and how quickly food moves through you. And your microbiome is connected to everything: immune function, mental health, hormone metabolism, inflammatory status, energy levels, your skin. When GLP-1 medications alter gut motility and change what you are eating, the ripple effects can be significant. What can you do to help your gut motility? Prioritize fiber, but ease into it gradually. Fermentable fibers from sauerkraut, kimchi, vegetables, fruits, legumes, lentils, and whole grains like wild rice, buckwheat, brown rice, organic oats feed beneficial bacteria. But if you are already bloated, suddenly adding a lot of fiber food can backfire. Go slowly. Cooked vegetables are much easier to tolerate than raw ones. Soups and stews are genuinely wonderful, nutrient dense without the volume stress. Think actively about fermented foods, yogurt, kefir, kimchi, sauerkraut, kombucha. And I'm not just talking like the yogurt with the fruit at the bottom with all the sugar and high fructose corn syrup in it. I'm talking regular plain yogurt or Greek yogurt. These support microbial diversity at a time when your diet is changing significantly. Talk to your doctor about whether a probiotic supplement makes sense for you. I take Seed, SEED. It's a green little pill. I take 2 of them, and man, does it help my gut. It is a miracle and my regular movements. Hydration is a non-negotiable also. When gut motility slows down and food volume decreases, constipation becomes a very real issue. Water and electrolytes are your first line of defense. And please, try not to skip meals entirely. The appetite suppression can be so profound that people genuinely forget to eat for many hours. And that can actually make nausea worse and slow motility even further. Small, regular meals with high nutrient density will serve your gut far better than one large meal at the end of a day. Think about like 4 ounces of chicken breast and a few things of broccoli, or maybe a half a cup of yogurt with a strawberry, a blueberry, a couple of blueberries, a couple of raspberries. Think about these, and maybe a little couple of nuts and seeds or a little bit of avocado. Try to get those protein meals in and eat the proteins first. If you're really not hungry, eat the protein first. So, first, a word from Larson Botanicals. If you've been struggling with your skin, you've got maybe skin issues coming on, you've got acne or whatever is going on in your skin, that's how I started Larson Botanicals. I had a rash all over my face, literally from using a sunscreen that was supposed to be non-toxic. And it was all over my arms, my neck, the back of my neck, all over my face. It was red and irritated and itchy and dry. It was just, oh my God, what happened? So Larson Botanicals came about with that, and I have been creating all organic and clean ingredient skincare and candles to support your clean living and challenges with your skin. Head to larsonbotanicals.com and look for there's a face wash, there's an eye cream with um, uh, caffeine in it that helps reduce the puffiness to your eyes, the advanced bioactive serum with hyaluronic acid and so many other beneficial ingredients that people pay hundreds of dollars for. And it's a lot more affordable on larsonbotanicals.com. So when you're eating significantly less food, you are consuming fewer nutrients, fewer vitamins, fewer minerals, fewer of the building blocks your body needs to run its thousands of daily processes. And unless you are being very strategic about the quality of what you are eating, deficiencies can creep in quietly, causing symptoms that get blamed on the medication or on stress or on just getting older. The ones that come up most often for women on GLP-1 medications is iron. Women are already at a higher risk of iron deficiency, particularly during perimenopause when cycles can become irregular. Reduced food intake, especially reduced red meat, can compound this. Low iron means fatigue, brain fog, weakness, and hair loss. If your hair is thinning and you are exhausted, please get your iron and ferritin levels checked. Specifically, ferritin, it shows your stores and it can drop significantly before standard iron tests catch it. B12. B12 is found almost exclusively in animal products. If your intake of meat, dairy, and eggs drops, your B12 can too. And deficiency is sneaky. It can take months or years before clinically apparent. But when it does, it causes neurological symptoms, mood changes, numbness and tingling, and profound fatigue. Vitamin D. I know it can feel like a cliche, but vitamin D deficiency is genuinely extremely common and matters enormously for immune function, bone health, mood regulation, and muscle function. Since muscle protection is already a key concern, this is one you really want to stay on top of. Magnesium. Magnesium is involved in over 300 enzymatic reactions in the body, essential for sleep, muscle function, blood sugar regulation, stress response. Many people do not get enough even before their diet changes. Magnesium glycinate before bed is something many people are finding genuinely helpful for sleep and muscle cramps. Calcium. This one is critical as you approach or move through menopause or women get through menopause. Estrogen declines already put your bones at risk. If you're eating less dairy or leafy greens and your vitamin D is low, which impairs calcium absorption, you could be quietly losing bone density. The consequences show up years later. I have osteopenia. That is the first signs of losing your bone mass. So I've gotten a power plate and I'm lifting more weights and I'm running now to get that pounding on my legs. I'm walking a lot more. So please do not let this slip through the cracks. If you are on a GLP-1 medication, please work with a healthcare provider to get a baseline panel and recheck it regularly. And if you can access a registered dietitian or go to larsonnutrition.com who understands GLP-1 pharmacology, do it. Eating strategically when your appetite is suppressed is a real skill. Having someone in your corner to help you build it is genuinely self-care. That's why I built larsonnutrition.com. This is created for a whole nourishing system for people who are trying to do this well. It has foundational nutrition, includes support for protein, fiber, phytonutrients, nutrition your body needs. If you're trying to fill the nutritional gaps while your appetite is low, this is exactly the kind of thoughtful support you deserve. Visit larsonnutrition.com. This is the section I really want you to settle into because this is where so much of what I hear from this community actually lives. Women in perimenopause and menopause are navigating something genuinely complex and underappreciated. The hormonal shift, the decline in estrogen, progesterone, and often testosterone changes almost everything about how the body functions. Metabolism, body composition, where fat is stored, mood, sleep, energy, bone density, muscle mass, your skin again, cardiovascular risk. And then a GLP-1 medication gets added into that picture. Suddenly you have two major physiological shifts happening simultaneously, interacting with each other in ways medicine is still working to fully understand. And this is not a disaster, but it requires awareness and care. Here's what I want you to really hear. Many of the things you are afraid of as a woman in midlife, losing muscle, aging faster, your metabolism slowing down, these are real concerns. GLP-1 medications used without intention and support can potentially accelerate some of them, like not getting support on teaching you about protein intake. A lot of these GLP-1 companies are advertising and just saying, "Okay, buy it." And they give no nutritional support whatsoever. They don't guide you whatsoever. But used with intention, with the protein, the resistance training, the nutrient monitoring, the gut support, they do not have to cause a problem for you. Let me be direct about the skin laxity question, because I know it is on many people's minds. Rapid weight loss, regardless of how it happens, can result in skin laxity, particularly in skin that already has less collagen and elastin due to age and hormonal changes. This is more pronounced the faster the weight loss occurs. Working with your doctor on a dosing trajectory that prioritizes a slower, steadier pace is a legitimate and sensible conversation to have. Collagen synthesis is supported by adequate protein, vitamin C, staying well hydrated and not rushing the process. And the metabolism piece. I want to be clear here because there's a lot of misinformation. GLP-1 medications do not inherently slow your metabolism. They do not, but muscle loss does significantly. If you lose substantial muscle while on a GLP-1 without intentional intervention, you will emerge on the other side with a lower resting metabolic rate. This is the real metabolic risk, the muscle loss that can happen as a downstream consequence of under eating protein and skipping resistance training. This is why everything connects: the protein, the lifting, the nutrient monitoring, the gut support. It is one integrated strategy. How do I use this powerful tool in a way that leaves me genuinely healthier and stronger? Not just smaller, but stronger. Not just less, but more energy, more capacity, more years doing what matters. I want to step back and be really honest about something that sits with me. The GLP-1 conversation in our culture is still largely binary. Either these medications are a miracle everyone should be on immediately, or they are shortcut we should be deeply suspicious of. I think both framings miss something essential. The real conversation worth having is about why so many of us struggle with metabolic health in the first place. It is about the food environment we have built together with, the highly processed foods and the food companies just producing these highly processed food. The chronic stress most of us are swimming in, the sleep deprivation that has become normalized, the ultra processed food landscape that was engineered to override the very satiety signals that GLP-1 medications are now trying to restore, the hormonal shifts that nobody prepared us for, the complex relationship between stress, trauma, and eating patterns that does not resolve just because you took a medication. Right? A lot of people take these GLP medications, they lose all the weight, and then they gain it all back again because they never learn how to properly eat. I think I think of a woman I know, a capable, brilliant woman who had been battling her weight and her relationship with food for 20 years. She had tried everything. She was exhausted. And when she finally started a GLP-1 medication, the food noise quieted. Yes. But what surprised her most was how much she needed to process. Feelings about her body she had buried, grief she had not named. The medication gave her space, but she still needed support to walk through what that space revealed. GLP-1 medications are a tool, a significant one, but they work best when they are part of a bigger picture, one that includes nourishment, movement, sleep, community, stress support, and honest medical care. The reason so many of you are asking, how do I stay healthy while using these, is because somewhere in you, you already know this. You already sense that the medication is one piece of something much larger. You are here because you are looking for the rest of the picture. And that tells me something about who you are. You are not looking for easy. You are looking for true relationships, true resolutions. So let's bring this home. I do not want you walking away feeling overwhelmed. I want to give you a starting point that is actually doable, something you can take with you today. One, get a comprehensive lab panel. Iron, ferritin, B12, vitamin D, magnesium, red blood cell level. What is more accurate than serum? A complete metabolic panel, lipid panel, thyroid, and a DEXA scan if you can access one. A DEXA scan measures body composition, fat mass versus lean muscle mass, and gives you an actual baseline. Your weight on a scale tells you very little. Body composition tells you everything. Same thing for me. I could tell you that for over the years, I have been lifting weights and lifting weights and lifting weights. And it has really helped my body. To work out your protein target and build your day around it, because when you take your weight in kilograms or pounds divided by 2.2 and multiply by 1.2 to 1.6, this is your daily protein goal in grams, or zero point 0.7 to zero point 0.9 for ounces in protein. Build every meal around hitting that number, even when your appetite is low. Greek yogurt, eggs, cottage cheese, protein shakes, chicken, fish, legumes. Find the ones that work for you. 3, start resistance training. 2 or 3 sessions per week is enough to make a real difference. You do not need a gym. You do not need to lift heavy to start. You need to consistently challenge your muscles. Find something sustainable, something you can still picture yourself doing 6 months from now. 4, support your gut actively. Hydration first, always. Then fiber from diverse sources, introduced gradually. Fermented foods or a quality probiotic. Small regular meals rather than one large meal at the end of the day. Your body needs at least 4 hours to digest food. 5, watch for signs of nutrient deficiency. Look for fatigue, hair loss, brain fog, mood changes, muscle weakness, tingling in your hands or your feet. This is your body communicating with you. Do not miss them. Do not dismiss them as aging or diabetes or something else. Get them investigated. 6, find a provider who understands both GLP-1 pharmacology and women's hormonal health. It is worth advocating for. These medications interact with your hormones and your bone health, your cardiovascular risk, and your muscle mass in ways that require a clinician who can see the whole person, the whole picture. 7, be kind to yourself throughout this entire process. Changing your body is complicated work. It is not purely physiological, it is emotional, psychological, and deeply personal. Some days will feel like progress and some days will not. Give yourself permission to go at your own pace. Give yourself permission to feel whatever comes up without judgment and without shame. So, a final word from our sponsors. Everything we talked about today comes back to one thing: you deserve to feel well, not just smaller, but well. And the team at Larson Botanicals and Larson Nutrition built their products, recipes, and healthy insights around that belief. Larson Botanicals for plant-based skincare support, hormone balance, and more. Visit larsonbotanicals.com. Larson Nutrition for clean, bioavailable recipes designed for protein, nutrients, and targeted wellness bundles. Visit larsonnutrition.com. So what we covered a lot, right, of ground today. And I'm so grateful you stayed with me through all of it. Now, here's what I hope you hold on to above everything else. GLP-1 medications are evolving from a weight loss story into something much larger, a metabolic health story, a longevity story, possibly a brain health story, and an addiction recovery story. The science is moving fast, and there is so much there is genuinely hopeful about where it is going. But the most hopeful thing to me is that you are asking the right questions. You are asking, how do I take care of my body through this? That shift is framing, that shift in framing is everything. It is what separates a short term result from something that actually changes the arc of your health. Your muscle matters, your gut matters, your nutrients matter, your hormones matter, your emotional relationship with your body and with your food matters. All of it matters. You are a whole person. You're not a number on a scale, and you're worth the effort of doing this in a way that honors every single part of that. I will link notes in the show. I will link everything in the show notes, the studies, the resources, and thank you for joining me today. If there's anything that you have questions about, please reach out to me on larsonnutrition.com or larsonbotanicals.com, and I'm happy to answer your questions.